Good afternoon, Westside family. I pray that y'all are blessed, that you are doing well in Christ, that His peace comforts, and that it's strengthening you during this period. I miss being with y'all during this time, but if you were or weren't able to join us this past Sunday, we had an awesome worship service. We used this app called Zoom. It's a video conferencing app. Awesome, man. We had 30 plus people singing praises, praying together, reading scripture together, and yet we weren't even in the same room physically. That's amazing. And what we did this past Sunday, what it just shows is that no matter what may come our way, God's people are going to find a way to be together, to comfort one another in worship as well as in encouragement. I want to thank Chris, Mark, Gerald for putting the service together as well as leading it. We're going to try to keep using that format in the next coming weeks and hope that we can reach more people with it and hope that you can be a part of it as well if you aren't already. We've got good news that has come our way here at Westside, and I know just like you, I need to be reminded of good news, especially during times like this. Monday, March 23rd at about noon, Avery and Alyssa Torrado were baptized into Christ here at the building, and in the midst of all that was going on, or all that is going on in the world around us, the angels in heaven and the saints on earth rejoiced that more souls were added to His kingdom. Also, our baby girl, Indigo Eloise Delgado, Indy for short, was physically born the following day, March 24th at 10:57 in the morning. Kelsey and I rejoice that she is healthy, that she has an awesome church family that she'll get to meet soon. We thank all of you for the prayers, the support during Kelsey's pregnancy, as well as the support you continue to give us during this time. There's a lot of good news going on, even when the world is so consumed with bad news. Above all, though, the good news, the gospel, cannot be overshadowed by any article you read on the internet, by any press conference that you may hear on the radio or on TV, because the gospel is the power of God unto salvation to everyone who believes. So Paul said in Romans 1 and verse 16. See, I wanted to just check in with y'all and see how everyone is doing. I'm hoping that with all the things in place, I'm hoping that y'all are taking some time to spend with God as well as with your families. And if you're not at home because you are required to go to work this time, you're in the service industry or are a healthcare professional, which we have a few people like that at Westside, my prayers and love go out to you. One of these days, Lord willing soon, we'll be together in that auditorium again. Could you imagine when the restrictions are lifted? I was thinking about this the other day, what those hugs, handshakes, loving each other is going to be like that day. Man, I can't wait. I'm longing for it. I have a few thoughts I wanted to share with y'all this morning, this afternoon, taken from Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12 through 13. Moses writes, "And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you but to fear, that is to revere, to be in awe of the Lord your God, to walk in all His ways, to love Him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul." That's with everything you have. "And to keep the commandments and statutes of the Lord, which I'm commanding you today for your good." Mark Twain, famed author, he once said, and I love this quote, he said that the most important day in a person's life is the day when they are born and the day they discover why they were born. Moses here in Deuteronomy is reminding Israel what their God-given purpose was. He's saying, number one, walk in all His ways. Number two, love God. Number three, serve God with everything that you've got. Number four, to keep His commandments. What Moses is doing is getting back down to the basics and show that what God requires of them, though may have depth and requires discipline and commitment, they're clearly and simply explained time and time again. He's not saying that the practice is easy, because if it were, there would be no reason to have written the book of Deuteronomy, because the purpose of that book is to warn and encourage the Israelites in obedience as they were about to enter into the promised land. What Moses is doing, though, is he's reminding them that there is nothing about their purpose that God has been vague about. Saying you have no reason to walk around aimlessly since God has given you everything you need to be successful. You have no reason to walk around as one with no hope because God has given you assurance of what comes with following Him. Even in the midst of Israel's 400 years of slavery, God had a purpose for them. Even in their wilderness wanderings for 40 years, God had a purpose for them. Even when it seemed like everything around them was collapsing, God had a purpose for them. God told Moses back in Exodus chapter 19 and verse 6 that the purpose of Israel was to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, to show the rest of the world what it was like living in a covenant community with the Holy Creator. See, the world around Israel in that time of history was chaotic. Israel's purpose was to show the world how the rest of the world can have peace living and abiding in God. See, the purpose of all of mankind is to be awe-stricken with God that leads to obedience, like Solomon wrote in Ecclesiastes. And as a church in my lifetime, this is probably one of the most chaotic and on the surface uncertain periods I've ever lived in or remember. And yet you and I, as God's children, still have purpose, even in the midst of all that's going on. We think because we're not meeting in the building or don't have a potluck scheduled this month or had to cancel gospel meetings or youth events that we lost our purpose or identity. That's far from true. Daniel, I think back to Daniel. Daniel was in captivity in Babylon, away from Jerusalem, from the temple, wasn't able to observe all the feasts that Israel observed, but he never once lost sight of his purpose and identity. Peter would remind the scattered, persecuted church in his letter in 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. He says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Peter is telling them, don't forget who you are. Live who you are. That is your purpose. That even during this time, our purpose is we serve God and declare his glory to those who struggle to see the light. Don't allow for this period to shake your motivation to follow Jesus Christ. See, the early church, because of persecution in Acts chapter 8, they were scattered abroad. They had to separate. And yet we read in verse 4, everywhere they went, they preached the gospel. Why? Because they knew their purpose was above circumstances, above difficulties. It was their priority. Now, although we may not be experiencing the persecution that the early church faced, and on the surface, we're facing something very different in our world. But both of these things have the ability to make us stronger. How are you living according to that purpose right now? Are you using this time to grow closer to God? Is this time strengthening your faith? Are you using it to proclaim the gospel? Are you actively trying to seek ways to encourage people? Although we may be limited in many of the ways we've previously engaged in a lot of these things, man, God has given us, he has opened up doors for us to use what we have today with our technology, mass communication, to be able to reach people far and wide, to encourage brothers and sisters all over the world. We live in an amazing time. This may be a scary time for many, but as the church, this is a time of opportunity to let our light shine brightly as many are looking for answers and realize ultimately the world itself doesn't have the answers that lead to what really matters in all of this. See, you have a purpose. Don't let fear tell you you don't. Don't let anxiety overshadow it. Don't let falsehood quench it. You have a purpose, and that purpose is to serve God and serve others, to love God and to love others, to obey God and to help others come to him as well. I've seen a lot of people all over social media doing different things to pass the time during this period of isolation. Last week, I spoke to one of my childhood friends who lives in New York City, who is already one of the most creative people I know, and he's really getting in touch even more. He's using this period to get more in touch with his creative side, doing artwork. He's writing more. He's playing guitar more. I've seen others who are making lists of movies they want to watch during this period, even books that they want to finish or books they want to start reading, workout routines from home. And one of the things that I'm doing other than ministry and taking care of my family is, and this is kind of funny, I'm watching old NFL games on NFL Game Pass, which is free right now through May 30th. So I'm seeing if I can watch 10 years worth of football in 2 months. That's a fun thing to do. I love football, but that's not my purpose. So what are some ways that we can use this time to live out our purpose? Last video I did several weeks ago, I outlined a few things, but I decided to give a few more ideas today. For one, here's something that will be really beneficial. It's beneficial for me. Take some time, get with your families, or make your own list, and write down a list of all the things you've been blessed with. Spend some time doing that. Man, it could be things, it could be places, memories, people, even events, whatever. Make that list. What are some things that God has blessed you with? Even work on a list of all the times and ways God has shown you he's still strong and he's taking care of you. What are the amazing things he's shown you that demonstrate that no matter what comes your way, you know you can face uncertain days because he lives. Take some time after and text someone. Text someone on our list or your own church directory. And many of us got a lot of time on our hands right now, right? So go down the church directory list and text as many people as you can and let them know that God is bigger than anything this world is throwing their way. Who are some people in your life right now that could use some more encouragement? Or maybe come to learn more about Jesus' gospel? Talk with them. Man, in the midst of social distancing, we can still be evangelistic. Set up a Zoom conference and have a Bible study with them. If they're comfortable doing this, let me know. And you, me, and the person you're trying to reach can all have a Zoom conference Bible study together. Share these videos, the videos that I'm posting, the videos that we have on our page, on your Facebook feed or Instagram, or email them to people, text them to people. During difficult days, let us show this world what the church is really all about, that we're people who are striving to live according to our calling, according to our purpose. I love y'all. God bless you. And if there's anything I can pray about or celebrate about, text me, email me. Remember, we're in this together, and we're going to overcome this world together. God bless you. I love you.